I mean, Hedron is a really good. I mean, I think we may have talked about this on like the last two Moon Gangs a little bit, but it's just good to go over it. I like Hedron. It's cool. It's basically kind of a wrapper in a little bit. It's a very symbiotic relationship to Hex. It helps Hexes out. It's given out to a bunch of Hex stakers, not holders. And I kind of like that sort of model where like it gives out to people who are like truly in the Hex project versus more of just like holding it as a trade, basically. So it's like the hardcore users of Hex. But basically, we saw recently that, when Hex was kind of going sideways, wasn't doing much and stuff, actually even going down, Hedron was able to kind of go up to that point of like, I think it went up to 60. I think we looked at it. It went up to 60 and then went back down to 10 and stuff. But we found out that when Hex is kind of going, it's kind of like flatline to down, that Hedron could still do these huge runs and actually get a really decent price. But this time around, there's not much. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Finish your thought there because I think it'll be a little different. But
yeah. So what'll happen is when now we're going to see this whole thing where like when Hex is actually going up and pumping, that once we have some news events happening for Hedron, that we may be able to finally break the all-time high. Finally, the first all-time high we got on Hedron was basically stopped by an OA injection of liquidity, basically a liquidity wall. Yeah. And then once the OA was like, "Oh, this is a friend, not an enemy," let it go from there, and then it was able to do this sort of thing. So it's gonna be really interesting because like the first time Hedron was pumping, it probably should have hit like 120, 140 in terms of price. And
you're talking about like when basically it was given to everybody for free, and then it pumped up to like 70. I think was the high.
Yeah, like 71. Yeah, 71. It should have just get like it was looking like, I think we were talked about at the time, and I was like, yeah, this thing's heading to like 100 plus, and that's when the
people are going to take the free money.
Yeah,
and then also the OA.
Yeah, because it just stopped the momentum and stuff, and then that momentum just killed the pump, and then people like, let me sell it.
Yeah, once the emotion turns, then it's like, okay, well, what's left to do? Sell. Yeah. But good for everybody who's, been paying attention to it. I think basically as long as you're paying attention to Hedron before it's like back above its all-time high at 70, like you're fine, right? Because the amount of X's that something can do like that going to new all-time highs, it's just, it can really run because it's still a very low cap coin. Compared to the rest of the market. So if Hex and the Pulse Chain ecosystem get some, wind behind its sails, Hedron is kind of the de facto, like, hey, if there's a second after Hex, like this is kind of where a lot of the money goes, is into Hedron. And if you're going to look at just other Hex projects,